So the gang's all here. I'd like to call to order the special meeting study session for the town of Atherton, 4 p.m. And may I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Lane,
Here, barely.
Councilmember Whitmer.
Yep.
Vice Mayor Holland.
Here.
Mayor Lewis,
I'm here.
and Councilmember DeGolia is absent.
He's excused. Okay, we had a special closed session with our city attorney, and I think she's online. So Mona, do you please report out?
Thank you, Mayor Lewis. The council met in closed session.
Wait a minute, we can't hear you. He's got to turn you up.
Camera, it's nice.
All right, go ahead, Mona.
Thank you, Mayor Lewis. The council met in closed session on a piece of existing litigation. There was no public comments in advance, and the council provided direction to meet.
Thank you very much. Bring it back to the meeting agenda. This is a time for any member of the public to speak at anything that's on the agenda. Any member of the public want to speak at this time? And then I'll bring it back and our action items. The first one is to consider an appointment to the planning commission. And Anthony, Michael, are you going to do the?
I think
George, okay.
You have candidates. You have Steve Seabolt and Peter Parson, and both of which have applied for the commission seat. And that term expires actually June of 2026. So it's a very short term, but they can, as incumbents, reapply for another term. And both are here this evening for Q&A by the council if you choose to do so.
All right, well, let's open it up to the floor. Peter, we haven't met you yet. Would you like to speak to us about
Sure.
what you'd like to be on planning? So there's the little podium do we have a microphone?
No, you should.
Oh, we don't need it anymore because we've got this
Yeah.
wonderful device.
Well, Peter Carson, been a resident of Atherton for about over 40 years. Started our first house in here in 1983 over in the Rittenhouse. We've been the house that was built for the what was 1936 World Fair. It was a good idea, except it was made out of concrete, so every time we had an earthquake, it cracked. But it was a wonderful house for about 10 years. Then after my second child was born, we moved over to Ferguson Court and been living there for since 1992. So my background is worked in the area, worked at Raychem for many years, went to Vanderbilt, went to Harvard, went to work for Raychem, stayed there about 30 years. We all got bought and fired, and found new things to do. And I started with a couple of different startups, worked with the WebEx. I ran sales for WebEx before we got bought by Cisco, and then did a number of startups. I'm now on two boards, all of which are private, one of which just got bought. That's good, a good number. And so had my experience typically in managing things for many years, mostly in the marketing and outside sales outside part of the business. We were involved with the inside parts of Raychem. Ran planning for several years, God forbid. And then also I've been on a couple of boards now that are private. And my only experience of running things was a small startup that was in up in Napa. And then two others that are now on the boards of. They're now active. And my only thing I ran was president of my fraternity and president of the Homeowners Association, which I'll say were the two worst jobs I ever had.
I can imagine
So I think I can
that.
answer if you'd be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Any member of council have a question? Mr. President?
I've got a question. Have you had any view of what's going on in terms of planning issues that are going on in Atherton?
Yes, I read about it and I talk to people, but I've pretty much got lack of interest after we got the housing element kind of under control. I participated in it before we reached the final. So I spent several meetings sitting in here, but and listening and participating.
Okay. All right. Have you been to any planning commission meetings at all? Have you had a chance to attend any planning commission meetings?
Not the planning committee meetings by themselves, but I just attended the general meetings where they all spoke.
Okay, great.
This gentleman has been on the planning commission for about 13 years and he's been the chair of it. And so This is why,
Yeah, I just.
he's the reason why there's a vacancy for 6 months, because
They found a way to get me off the planning commission.
finally.
I guess that's enough.
Finally. Okay,
Anything else?
Mr. Whitmer?
Yeah, you talk about, the reason you want to serve on the committee, to implement the will of the community. So, Eric can discuss this in detail, of course, but, the council passes those ordinances and then, it's your job to make sure that people are following the ordinances or find a reason for granting some sort of variance, but not necessarily letting people do what they want to do. So, have you, thought about that a little bit, and do you have any comments on that? Or maybe I'm misreading what was actually written here.
Probably not in terms of specifics, because I'm not that up on specifics. But I've done complex organizations and complex negotiations, so. I think my big strength is people tell me I'm a really good listener. Right now, I'm a realtor for Compass, been doing that for about the past 10 years. I'm not the most prolific realtor. I try to do one or two transactions a year, and that keeps me busy when I'm not doing other board things. Or also do a lot of volunteer social work and nonprofit consulting. So I've done a lot of things to make things better, but not so much with the city of Athens, town of Athens. But I'd like to. I now have time, since I'm pretty much out of the last things I've been doing. It's like all the board things are kind of winding down, and the other one just got sold. So
And you understand the time commitment on this.
yes,
So just to make sure we're all on the same page, there's a meeting every month. There is, before the meeting, you get your pack, you have to go out to the sites and look at them, and take the time and understand what's going on. If you have any questions, you go up to staff and talk to them about that. But that was, it's more than on, say, other committees that we have where they meet, every other month, for 2 hours.
well, I'm ready for the time commitment, and having done the real estate stuff for the past 10 years, you learn a lot about where all the poles and mountains are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, how familiar are you with a lot of the building code of Atherton? Have you done any building in town? You're gonna be hearing requests around heritage trees.
There was a time when I read the codes. That was probably about 15 years ago, but so I know what the general codes are, but I don't mind reading them and understanding them. It's something I think I'm capable of doing.
Cool.
And I know it's a time commitment to do that, so I'm ready for the time commitment.
Well, I guess, you would not perceive any conflicts of interest, with your, real estate.
No, it's all, no.
Buying and selling, and because you'll be dealing with the real estate of the residents of Atherton.
No,
Making decisions one way or
I'm a pretty
another.
non-controversial guy.
And I'm sure,
Or if there's a property that he's currently the agent
In
for,
negotiation.
and it does come before the planning commission, he'd have to
I
recuse himself.
You have to
certainly
recuse
don't, but I
yourself.
don't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
But most of mine have always been Palo Alto and below.
Got it. Well, thank you very much for coming, and, we've all wanted to meet you, and I think that's why we pushed, it to this, the decision to this meeting, so we could meet you and talk to you, and, we really, our residents and their, volunteering to, these committees and commissions, the planning commission is, kind of autonomous from the council a little bit, because they don't have a council person sit in on it. So it's a very, good job, but it's non-paying, it's a volunteer job, so,
Understand.
well, thank you very much.
I just thought you were holding up my checks.
Yes. I've got a big stack. Thank you. So our next applicant is Steve. We've met him. Would you like to talk
Sure.
again?
Sure.
You're so
Thank you.
brave. Thank you.
So I am not as articulate as Peter on the fly, so I wrote some comments
That's okay.
if that's
We
okay.
all do that.
This is actually the second time I'm applying. It looked like there was going to be a vacancy earlier and did you re-up? I can't remember what happened, but anyway. I'm a 30-year resident of Atherton. I've witnessed our town evolve while maintaining its essential character. This deep connection to our community has given me both perspective on what makes Atherton special and insight into how we can thoughtfully adapt to meet future challenges. My 3 decades here represent not just residency, but active engagement both in town and in the area. I'm on several outside boards, and I'm told my strength lies in finding common ground and building consensus. I was the middle child of a family, and I have the middle child syndrome in me, which is sort of trying to bring people together. And that's how I approach problem solving. I believe effective planning requires listening to all stakeholders before forming conclusions, balancing competing interests rather than taking polarized positions, preserving core values while remaining open to necessary evolution. Our town needs to continue to evolve. And through analysis of issues from multiple perspectives before making recommendations. I tend not to rush to judgment, but take time to understand the full context of planning issues, consider precedents, and think through both immediate and long-term implications of decisions. So a question that was asked earlier, my wife and I built a house in town, so I've experienced firsthand what it's like to work with the town and the planning commission and achieve both what you want, but do it within the constraints of the town. I actually moved to the area when I was the CEO of Sunset. And that was a great example of, we wanted to do things with that property when I first came here, and I was told there was no way Menlo Park was ever going to allow us to do anything. So I sat down with the town and said, we want to be good citizens in this area. This is what we would like to do. Please tell us what's controversial. Please tell us what's not. We want to be good neighbors and good citizens. And it turns out they granted us everything that we really wanted. But it was a great experience in terms of interacting with the town and trying to find common ground. Kind of my vision, I believe in Atherton can honor its heritage while meeting the demands of the future. I think that means protecting the town's residential character and the natural beauty that we love so much, making thoughtful, well-reasoned decisions on development proposals, and ensuring our planning policies serve both current and future residents. Last but not least, I think it's really important to work constructively with neighboring communities on those concerns that are shared. So I'd be honored to serve on the committee. I'm passionate about the town and making a better place. It's partially why I also ended up on the transportation committee. I care deeply about this town and making it the best it can be for all of us. That's it.
Okay,
Thank
we'll
you.
bring it back to council for any questions, sir.
Yes.
So you're on other committees now, correct?
Transportation. Just
Okay.
joined, only gone to 2 meetings.
All right, so were you planning on getting off of transportation to go on planning commission?
No,
All right. Potentially there might be some role over there. All right. That's all I've got for now. You can go ahead.
there was a question Bill had asked me as well. I would hope to stay on transportation as well.
And I would think that might not be optimum, but that's fine. Have you been tracking the changes in the development processes over the last couple of years?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty, this is gonna be probably.
It's been a lot.
Yeah, well, there's probably a lot more coming up. I think the last 2 years have been the hardest spot on the planning commission, and the next 4 are gonna be harder than that because of the pressure to change the very nature of the community based on pressure from the state. So somewhere along the line, balancing the pressure from outside and also maintaining the character of the community's community.
Yes.
Have you been to the planning commission meetings at all?
I've gone to one meeting
Okay, what was that?
3 months ago.
Okay. Okay, that's all I've got for now.
Mr.
I've
Whitmer?
also gone through and
I know, Steve.
I've also gone back and read the notes and the agendas for many of the past meetings.
Okay.
And spent the time to go through the ordinances as well.
I'm okay.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
I don't think I have any questions either.
Well, Steve, thank you so much. You know, I know that you deeply care about the town. That's been really evident. You came to talk with me during the mayor's hours to kind of see where you could, you know, join and volunteer. And at the time, there was not a placeholder for the planning, but there was the transportation committee. And, you know, you're an avid biker and all sorts of things like that, which is good. And so I think that was a good fit. And that was just a couple of months ago, really.
Right.
So, but clearly, I think your qualifications are really a good fit for the planning commission. I think you be able to hit the ground running in a sense. But I hear Eric's kind of hesitation about keeping both committee positions because the planning commission is quite a lot of work because it's every month. And, you know, as Eric says, it's just going to get harder and more complicated with all these ordinances that we're passing. Seems like, you know, every week practically. So that might be something you might reconsider.
I invested the time to sit down with Sandy Levison
How did you
to get her perspective on
plan?
So what is the time commitment? What's the value add? Do you see it as a match, et cetera? So.
Good, yeah, she's like the newest newbie.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
She and I used to go on tours together all the time.
You kind of tutor her up.
Yeah, she's really smart, so it didn't take a lot of.
She's super. She's super smart.
I felt like I was just a double. She was-
I think intellectually, she's really enjoying her time.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. And she's got the bandwidth and time right
Yeah.
now. Her kids are grown. Thank you so much.
Is there any possibility that you consider resigning of the committee for this? Because there's two reasons. One, because we like to get more people involved on committees, which Bill's brought up before. And two, so that there'd be a little bit more just focus on the planning side of things.
Let's go back. When I first applied, I applied for planning first. That was what I thought was my best match, and ended up on transportation when that spot didn't become available, and I still had a passion to contribute. That said, if the recommendation was, Steve, just be on one committee and planning is a higher and better use, yes, I'd resign from transportation.
All right, well, that would be my preference, but you guys can do whatever.
Well, thank you. I think we have to kind of bring it back to us four and deliberate. How are we going to do this? So
Just deliberation.
just deliberation.
We should probably leave.
No, you get to watch. It's
Yeah,
very
I mean,
strange.
this is
That's
like
why-
really a sausage.
Later.
And you know, in the past, we have had, like voting pieces of paper. Do you remember that?
Even that's public. You have to disclose that you
Oh,
voted.
I
No
know.
more secret
Well,
ballots.
I'm okay with doing it. But what what do you think about this?
So my feeling is, I'm so happy that we have residents who want to volunteer.
Right.
And it's very, very hard to choose one over the other. You know, qualifications, I just feel that the passion that Steve has had and over the last few years, making application beyond planning and then, you know, getting a seat again. So it's hard to put, you know, knock you off, but.
Do I get his back pay? Yeah, you can have all of it.
So, you know, I do agree with you, Eric, that, having two committee seats is probably a little too much. And that would be, but, so my recommendation, my vote would be for Steve to be on planning, if he would resign from transportation.
Well, as I said at the meeting, I think that we want to encourage people to get on the committees. We've had problems in the past getting committees filled. And so I think that it's important that we, you know, we don't turn people away, because in the past, as you know, we turned some people away and then they never came back. And so we don't want to have that happen.
Well, that's not exactly true, because I've been turned away and I came back.
Well, okay.
Okay,
I didn't
so,
say
you know,
everybody, I
you
didn't
know, there
say
is-
everybody.
And you never left.
And I haven't left yet. Well, there is an election coming in November
Okay.
next year, so.
And so, you know, I think both candidates are qualified in different ways. You know, I'd hate to see somebody quitting a council committee to get on another committee. You know, so as I said, you know, last time when we looked at this, you know, I would go with Peter, because I don't want to turn anybody away, but I think Steve was very, very qualified. But then we're having somebody quit, and now somebody's not on transportation. Now we have to go get somebody for transportation.
Well, there was only one person for transportation. There was one, right? There, we didn't have a runoff, so.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
but if
But
he
so-
quits,
Yeah.
which is you're saying,
Yeah.
you support
Well-
him if he quits,
I know.
which is what Eric said, then now we have to get somebody for transportation.
Which
and
is
so-
easy to do.
Yeah, that
But it
was,
hasn't, I mean, we've had quorum issues with that committee, so I didn't go to the last meeting, I don't know, we have the newer,
I did,
did all the members show up to the last meeting?
yeah, we
So,
had pretty
last
good-
year, we canceled 3 meetings.
No, we had a pretty good, yeah, we had a good
The
meeting.
last meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
Even EBC, we had a full quorum. Yeah, how about
Look
that?
at us. Look at
Wow,
us.
you're
Committed
rocking,
and
rocking it.
volunteers.
well, also, I think there's more focus, I think we're having more people come forward in general, because of the interest level in general of all the changes going on in the city. So the rumbling about all the things going on in terms of everything from speed bumps to
yes.
bike lanes to whatever, all that stuff is getting to be more exciting to talk about. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think we will be able to fill that spot.
I bet somebody from Selby Lane.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
Right,
I don't
okay with
know,
that?
does
Yeah.
Peter have any
Well,
interest in going on
okay.
transportation?
I've got to do a count. You haven't,
I wanna know what Eric, I said in the last meeting, Eric knows the planning commission better than anybody, so is your recommendation
Yeah.
Steve, or I don't feel like you.
So I appreciate you coming forward for sure, and you've got a great experience, so you need to get involved on something, all right? And there's likely to be a spot open on the transportation. But I like the fact that Steve, you wrapped up, you know, that you've gotten involved and you've made a commitment to spend the time in the community, and get up to speed on the issues, and be around them. And I really do appreciate that. And what we're going into and planning in the future is the whole thing about. Should I get that for
no.
That
you?
made me put mine on do not disturb.
So I just think that what's coming forward on planning is going to be more complex and more difficult to balance than it's ever been. And the pressure the pressure to comply smartly for the community is a very delicate balance. It's not really as much of a negotiation as it is it's about positioning the community to be able to attract the kind of development that we think is appropriate for the community and make it less likely that inappropriate will be attracted. I would go for Steve and suggest we, apply again.
Yeah.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
I would go with that way.
Yes. I think we should have a discussion about asking him to resign from Transportation Committee, because there are other people who serve on multiple committees, so that is gonna be
It's just because the planning commission is different than.
right, but we
Well,
have
we
someone
got
on
Mr.
planning
Luger
who's
who's
also
on
on.
He's on transportation, and he's
Oh.
on planning.
But
Jerry's on the road.
yeah, too, so I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's fair to have
Yeah,
different
you're
roles for
right.
different people, so.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're right.
I
Okay.
Exact
forgot.
same, I mean, look,
Yes.
yes. sorry.
Yeah, I would have, if
So-
I had been part of that vetting, I would have brought that up at the last one, but you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Okay, so you're right. I would not set it up as
I
a must do.
withdraw my contingent.
Yeah, so do I.
You can just make a recommendation, but it's his choice.
Yeah.
That's
His choice, You can't force anybody to get off.
Yeah, it's not,
So it looks to me.
Yeah.
Because I move this along.
Right. Right.
That we have a unanimous vote of the four of us.
Right.
Yeah.
To, accept Steve's, appointment to the planning commission.
Right.
And we, appreciate, Mr. Carson's, desire to serve the town in some way. shape, or
Yes.
form. And, hope he, keeps considering for us.
Right.
Thank you, okay?
absolutely.
All right.
Formal motion to appoint through June 2026.
Yeah,
We need a formal motion, make the formal motion to, appoint, Steve Siebold to the planning commission through June 30th, 2026.
I'll second.
Any questions? Any public comments? All those in favor? Aye. We don't need a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope, there's
Motion
nobody,
passes.
nobody done.
Congratulations.
Peter, all of the committees are up for reappointment in the summer, so some people are not re-upping, so there's gonna be a chance in like 6 months to join
Yeah,
all the committees, so please don't go away, come back.
okay, yeah, glad you're here. Okay, let's
All right.
move on to our, item number 2.
They need people on parking, right?
Excuse me.
Sorry, I was just telling
Excuse me.
you.
I'm
Okay, so sorry.
Item 2 is a really fun topic. And
Fun.
we're going to throw the ball over to Brittany, our planning department. Senate Bill 79, summary and request for direction from council about how we're going to proceed.
Good evening, council members. Brittany Bendix here, town planner. This summary of Senate Bill SB 79, please put up some slides. We have some slides that are more succinct than the staff report that was prepared by our city attorney's office and amended slightly by me. The general overview on this next slide here captures the spirit of SB 79, which was signed by the governor this fall, proposed by new Senator, State Senator Weiner.
You should all have a copy of it.
It's right here.
I know, it's just weird having you look at the screen right behind me, because I feel like we're making eye contact.
Well, look at your paper.
Like, really focus on what you're saying. Right behind me.
So SB 79 focuses on adding residential development near transit centers, specifically development within 1/2 mile or up to 1/2 mile away from specific transit stops. The report gets into the nuances of some of these stops and tiers them, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tonight our focus is going to specifically be on tier 1 because that's the stop most present to properties in Atherton because of the Caltrain, the Menlo Park Caltrain stop. Generally speaking, though, throughout the bill, it does apply to any sites that are zoned for residential, mixed, or commercial uses. The law doesn't specifically require that projects are ministerially reviewed, meaning that they can circumvent any sort of hearing process and be approved at staff level, or that they are exempt from CEQA. However, I do want to clarify that there are possible combinations with other state laws that would make a project ministerial or eligible for a CEQA exemption. So putting that caveat in there, that's something that I would suspect becomes a little bit more clear as the law gets put into practice and we see how it's codified, which will occur on January 1st. However, it is not effective until July 1st of next year. So there is some time to think about how the town could adapt to the policy, which is why we're bringing it forward to you effectively as quickly as possible, given that the governor just signed it in late October. The project must include, to be eligible under SB 79, you have to include at least 5 dwelling units. You also have to provide a density of at least 30 dwelling units per acre, although you'll see that the maximum densities goes up even quite beyond that.
Ridiculously higher.
Yes.
Yeah.
So can I just interrupt real quick?
Sure.
You're saying tier 1, and in our packet, tier 1, and then the distance from the stop, the TOD zone is a 1/4 mile, but we're talking about a 1/2 mile?
I'm
here?
just speaking generally.
Ours is
The
a
bill
quarter mile.
is structured,
Because we're under the 35,000.
and I'll get to that in the
Okay.
next couple of
I
slides.
just wanted to make sure of that.
Sure. Speaking at a higher level, again, the bill is structured to focus on San Francisco, San Mateo, Santa Clara, and I believe Alameda counties in the Bay Area. And then I think there's 4 other counties that are subject to it in Southern California. So it is much more broad than just hitting Atherton, jurisdictions like us, but then it's also very specific in looking at metropolitan areas. And we're seeing some even new language come out of it, like a transit-oriented county. So suddenly we're seeing new terminology pop up in this legislation as well. Yes.
So, reading down this, you've got 2 musts have at least 5 dwelling units, must
3
provide a
musts.
density of at least 30. So the density potential is 30 per unit per acre, or 30 dwelling units per acre, but you can start with just 5, is that correct?
No.
Because you got 2 musts, I don't. Okay.
So
Three months.
so you must have at least 5 dwelling units.
Okay.
And you must be providing at least 30 dwelling units per acre. So if your site is only 1 acre, then that 5 unit must is 30 units.
Right.
The 5 dwelling units is just to capture smaller sites. Because most of the jurisdictions that are subject to this are not like Atherton,
Right.
where the majority of their properties are at least 1 acre.
So it's gotta be a pretty small piece of property to only have 5 units.
Right.
Be a 5,000 or 7,000 square foot property.
Which is
Which
typical.
I'm in San Francisco, the standard lot size is 2,500 square feet.
Right.
Right.
So that's telling neighborhoods in San Francisco that, hey, you have to do at least 5 dwelling units. Even though technically 30 dwelling units per acre might be less than 5.
Okay, on the last must,
Sure.
average size is 1750, so that means some could be larger, some could be small.
It's just
Is that
that.
correct?
So I haven't hit that point yet, but thank
Okay.
you for honoring to.
Such an aggressive learner.
I read ahead, I'm
The
sorry.
last point is that the project must have a maximum average unit size of 1750 net habitable square feet. So there's a lot of nuance in there.
Yeah.
The key thing that I want to point out kind of immediately is that it's saying habitable square feet. a lot of times when we've been talking about units, especially with the consideration of unit size for our RM 10, 20, and 40 programs that we went through last year, we were talking about gross square feet, which would be everything contained within the exterior walls of the building. Habitable square feet is not the same thing. It's more of a real estate term. And I would liken it, generally industry standards about 0.8% or 80% of what the gross volume or the gross square foot.
So it's eliminating like stairwells and hallways.
Hallways,
Common areas like that.
garage.
The
Walls,
garage or lobbies.
Closets.
It's,
even walls.
and closets
Oh, closet?
inside the unit?
No, not the closet.
How about
No,
basement?
yeah, because that's part of
Because
the
that would be part of
habitable.
the bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Basements, it depends on whether or not the
If
basement
there's
is
utilities in
habitable.
there, that's not habitable, right?
Well, if it's storage space or like a utilitarian closet,
Okay.
not really associated with living in the unit,
Right.
then that wouldn't be included.
But if you have your hot water heater inside your unit, individually or something.
Kind of expanding out from that term. The next thing I kind of want to put out there is the 1750 has been spoken a lot about in the planning profession as the ideal middle income sized home. And how you achieve that missing middle income category that accommodates housing for families. It's kind of the smallest I think that you could reasonably do a 3-bedroom unit. And so that's why it's there as, that's why I think we're seeing it in this piece of legislation. And so I want you to kind of have that frame of reference, that the reason that there's an average unit size here is to give the market and the developer some flexibility, but also direction in terms of the bedroom mix. Okay, next slide. So this is a map of the properties that are within the TOD area. There are 7, not popping up great on the PowerPoint slide, but this map is included in the staff report. The orange is the area that is applicable to that tier 1 quarter-mile category. And then you have the boundaries of Menlo Park and Atherton, which is this thick black line. And we have, let's see, 99 Victoria is at the intersection of El Camino Real and Valparaiso.
So that's G, right?
With
Yes.
little tiny one
Yeah.
here. In Victorian.
Michael, is there a way to zoom in? Okay. Let me. When we come back to questions, I might be able to
Okay.
zoom in if necessary.
I mean, I'm familiar with it.
Sure,
I mean,
and
I
then
think we
the
all are.
other kind of key area that I want to point out is at the intersection of Glenwood and I believe that's Encinal.
Oh, wait, no, I can't.
Ah, perfect. So right kind of north in terms of how we do directions here of Nativity School,
That's Laura.
this Laurel,
Laurel.
yeah,
Is
Laurel and
Laurel.
Glenwood,
Bama.
Okay,
sure.
where's your wand?
So
The lot,
that's Laurel. That's Glenwood.
the
And then
way the
Oak-
law
Oak Grove
applies,
is there, yeah.
the proximity is from the pedestrian access point of the station. So we're measuring from the very corner edge of the station there to any part of the property. So for example, lot F here is a flag lot, but it's included because of the portion, the flagpole portion of the lot was within the boundaries. And the same is pretty much for lot C. Funny.
C is next above B.
We had F on our docket some time ago on planning commission It was like, they were gonna put a new house there or something like that. I remember going up that street to look at the property there. I don't know if it was that for Steve, but it was one of those two. I think it was that,
That's the old Grinley house.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the Fenwood Estates.
yeah.
Yeah,
147 Laurel is
That's his house.
property on
And
the left.
Zach
yeah, exactly,
owns it.
right.
I saw Mr.
Yeah, so these would all be subject to the 75-foot.
So we'll get to the
Okay.
development standards in the next slide.
Right.
But these are the properties that we're talking about, and they're, of course, the local jurisdiction, Atherton has not selected these sites. These are the sites that are eligible per the state law. Okay, next slide.
Does that mean the other ones aren't?
Unless we
Yes.
choose to move them.
Well, the ones in the park I'm not addressing, I'm only raising the ones that are in Atherton for this conversation. The question was, are the other ones not? And ultimately, everything within that orange area is
Is.
eligible.
Right.
These are just, we're focusing on the ones that are within
Part of
Atherton.
it.
So here we've taken the tier 1 development standards and have summarized how SB 79 would apply. These are all mandated standards. First is height. The town cannot impose a height limit of less than 75 feet. If the project is adjacent to a transit stop, it would be eligible for an additional 20 feet. Adjacent per the state law means 200 feet from the transit stop. None of our sites are within that adjacent category. So you can kind of put that aside. However, it is useful because there's sites in Menlo Park and they're our neighbors. So we want to know what Menlo Park might be doing. Then there's density. The town cannot impose a maximum density of less than 120 dwelling units per acre. So in the first slide that I shared, the minimum density was 30 dwelling units per acre. This is saying that the application or the project can go up to 120, and that's before taking into consideration potential density bonus increases, which again is a different state law, but is woven into some of the language that we see here. And then finally, we have the floor area ratio. So floor area ratio, just as a reminder, we talked about this in the RM program. This is the area of the floor area to the lot size. So floor area ratio of 1 could be complete lot coverage at 1 story. It could be 2 stories that occupy half of the lot, but still reflect the same amount of square footage as the entire lot. And then you can kind of play with that there. So 3.5 could be a 3.5 story building that completely occupies the entire footprint of the lot, or it could be stacked in a way that gets up to that 75 feet that provides more gracious setbacks than none at all. So this leads us to the direction that we'd like to get from council. This is essentially, do we want to pursue an alternative transit-oriented development plan in the town? And I can cover some of the pros and cons of that. And then whether or not we do that, knowing that the law becomes effective on July 1st, do we want to pursue some development standards that address things like how to sculpt the floor area to be respectful of neighbors, improvements to the frontage of the site that could be important, especially understanding the volume of individuals that might be living there, and any other standards that we could presumably require, so long as they don't interfere with the developer's ability to achieve the minimum density.
So will those really, will that flexibility really be available to us? I mean, because other kinds of things have been like, you can't mitigate downward lighting, you can't ask for, screening by plants or anything like that. So with all those stipulations and other things that have been going on, this one, we believe will have some kind of control over?
Yes.
Okay, why is that?
The distinction here is, I believe Chair Lane is addressing, some of the constraints that we've seen in our ADU ordinance. There is actual explicit language in the state law related to ADUs that you cannot, on the state exempt ADUs, that you cannot provide standards beyond
Right,
these setbacks, these heights, and this square footage.
right,
This is separate. It actually even addresses that and says that so long as it doesn't preclude the development at these densities or the FAR or the average net habitable floor area that's allowed, you can require these things. So
Right.
there are additional provisions like lighting. We'll use as an example, if a developer were to say, well, I can't provide the lighting that's required by the town because that somehow renders my project infeasible, there's a whole path we would then have to go down in consultation with the city attorney's office on how to defend that position. That's kind of an easy one, because how can you say that lighting would make your project not feasible? But it can get a little bit more nuanced relative to some of the standards that came up during the RM10 or the RM10 discussions, like orientation of entries, number of entries on a building. That could get into that territory where it becomes too cumbersome. But frankly, HCD is going to have to review whatever ordinance we would come up and the standards we've set. And they already did that for the RM10 program. So we have a good sense of what they might find is too constraining already.
okay, all right.
I have a question.
Yes.
Certainly.
We're not allowed to require parking for this because it's so close to a transit.
Correct.
Yeah, that's handy.
Cool.
Park on the street.
No, there's not gonna be any problem.
Right.
With that
We're gonna
said,
be walking.
I would still encourage providing parking standards or controls, because even when parking is not required, developers will want to provide it. I mean, we don't have a parking requirement for our single family zoning, but what developer's not gonna build a parking space for the homes here? I mean, sometimes they put in 8. So we would want to start thinking about, well, do we want a parking maximum? Do we want specific loading areas for Uber and Lyft pickups? What about requirements for deliveries? How do we consolidate any sort of Amazon pickup for a unit that has, or a building that has 120 units in it? It's helpful to think through all of these demands, these everyday demands that we don't have in our code at all right now. So I would encourage you to pursue an ordinance. The question is also, though, do we want to look at designating other areas of the town to kind of redistribute the density?
That's alternative.
Yes, that's the alternative TOD
Are
plan.
we going to discuss that now?
Look, if
All right, well, if
we,
you're gonna do that now, then since I live on Glenwood, it's appropriate that I don't participate in this discussion.
Okay,
So
understand.
please come get me when
Okay,
it's time for that.
well, hopefully it won't be too long.
This was my last
I got my
slide.
phone,
So we
but I can come
back
back and talk
down.
about the development standards. So if you're gonna talk about development standards, I'm allowed to talk about those.
Okay,
Who lives on Glenwood?
yes.
Can we just put all of it on Bill's house or?
Yeah.
You didn't, you said that pretty, you went out the door.
Now I saw it. Let's get it.
I didn't create a slide for the TOD discussion, sorry, the alternative TOD discussion, but I can kind of summarize the
Page
framework
16.
that was in the staff report. So effectively, this would go through a very similar process as what we just went through for our multifamily zoning and Atherton housing development. We would need to identify site. We would need to meet with HCD. We would require HCD's approval. We would also require CEQA. Because there's nothing explicitly in the state law that exempts the alternative plan from any sort of secret review. So from a timing perspective, I don't think it's realistic to get an alternative program in place before July 1st. I think what that would look like is then we have two competing programs. We have the law as it's already established, effective July 1st, with whatever standards we push forward as quickly as possible. And then we have this other ongoing process where we're considering an alternative plan that may take density away from the selected sites and place it elsewhere.
So when you say we would identify sites to move the density to, that would be that would be a council decision, that would be a, administrative decision on your end, or what would we do with all the residents who come, saying, not in the backyard over here, and haranguing us about that?
It would be a repeat of the housing element process.
Yeah.
It would be public outreach. I mean, typically, right, you do public outreach.
Yeah.
You get feedback.
Yeah.
You make decisions based on that feedback, and then you go through an approval process. What was a difficult experience for not just Atherton, but multiple jurisdictions during the 6th cycle housing element process was that public input, because it was a radical departure for a lot of jurisdictions in terms of what to expect literally next door. So this would be very similar. There would be a need to educate property owners as well as neighbors as to what they could expect, which frankly could be done anyway. Even though this is a state program, there isn't a lot of education that's been given to individual property owners at this point that are part of the existing state program. But if the town were to pursue an alternative, it would look very similar to what you just went through with the housing element.
So the question I have is, are we required to change the zoning? Let's say we stay with the way the state has said these are the properties, okay? And that would be, for me, the better way to go, because it would be like not our fault.
Exactly, yeah.
But also the thing I like about it is that those particular properties, from the standpoint of what their value would be and how that might protect the development there, just because people will say, no, I want that property to stay single family or whatever. All those things sort of play out for us in terms of sort of maintaining the standard that we would want for the community. The question I have, do we have to change the zoning designation for those properties as part of this process or not?
The properties that are within the area that I showed on the map,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
If you were to find a new area, yes.
Yes, all right.
Right.
So how would a developer come in and say, okay, I want to put 120 on this acre, or mostly acre, but I know it's in this zoned for single family home right now. How would that developer be situated to be able to, one, ask for it, and two, know it's okay?
So that would be very, it would be very challenging for one developer to be able to pursue that without a commitment from the council to encourage that and support that, and collaboration from additional neighbors. If it's a single developer and it's not necessarily supported by the council outright, that means that they're filing a rezoning application on their own.
Okay, that's
And one of the legal challenges we would have is with spot zoning.
Right,
Right.
that's why.
And so we can deny that.
Yes.
Yes,
All
yes.
right,
That's a request to do this outside of the SB.
Yes, this is an individual independent property owner.
Outside of SB 79
Yes.
properties,
Right,
but
right.
if it is an SB 79 property,
Then,
would be adopting development standards that apply to those specific
those six.
six parcels.
Parcels.
And then the developer would know this is one of those parcels.
All right, and then when they walk in with their application, the application would be included, would include a zoning change as part of that application?
Would
No.
need
They
to-
don't have to.
So, but it's still gonna be marked R10 or whatever, in our plans, even though they're got 120.
Why don't we use a specifics? Can you bring the map, Michael, back up? Let's use a specific site, because I think we're.
And
getting-
if I can just give a little bit more context,
Yeah.
that might help for this discussion. So generally speaking, a developer or an applicant cannot build any kind of project within the town unless it conforms to the town's general plan land use element and zoning code designation. The exception to that is when the legislature has adopted specific statutes that state that you are allowed essentially by right to build the following development. So under an SB 79 application, as long as it's zoned multifamily residential or commercial, they have the right to build in accordance with the requirements set forth in SB 79. They do not need to get a general plan amendment and they do not need to get a rezone.
Could I,
Only applicable for the lots right now that you see on your map, A through G. Those are the only lots that can do this because those are the only ones within a quarter mile of the transit.
so there's some of this discussion that's
Right.
more general in nature, but is there a consensus amongst this group of distributing or not redistributing the density?
I do not want to redistribute the density. I want to stick with what we've been forced to swallow.
And I'm
By the
hearing that
state.
from the vice mayor as well.
Oh, no, I want to start a nuclear war. No.
With that, with that, we
No.
can bring in the fourth member of the
Let's
council.
bring it back. It just wasn't any fun.
You want this? Yes.
You know, so we're unanimous
Yes.
on this.
Got it.
And
We're moving it all closer to your house.
That's fine, no
I
problem.
did try and put it all on your house, but they.
That's the first thing out of
My
her
yard is-
mouth.
my
as
yard
soon as
is
you
big
left.
enough to
That's
cover it
right,
all.
it's
I could
All
probably.
of it on Bill's side and we'll be
That's
done
what
with
she
it,
said.
and they.
Okay.
they said no,
Moving on. So is that enough direction on this?
Thank you.
I'll
And
watch
we'll-
the movie
do we
when I
have to
get
do
home.
anything else?
So then
now?
the next question
Yeah.
is, do you support staff coming back to you to engage on some development standards?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, please.
And the earlier the possibility, because HCE's got to approve them.
But we, yes,
To
we
take
understand.
90 days.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we get 2 weeks and they get 90 days, I
Well,
It's my Christmas break.
I was gonna say, you know, you're gonna have, you know, what, 8 days, you know, off?
Santa will bring you development
Okay.
standards.
Something about like.
Right.
There we go.
Right down the
All right.
chimney.
Thank you so much, Brittany.
You're welcome.
Great job, Brittany. I mean, this stuff.
Mona's team did most of the background research on
Mona?
it, so.
Nice job.
Thank you,
kudos.
Mona.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's actually Alec from my office. I'm not gonna.
Alex,
credit.
there it
Yes.
is. All right, we're gonna move on to item number 3, which is, we're going to receive, the survey results, from our installations, excuse me,
Go ahead, I
Thank you.
was speaking to the city manager about something very important.
but I was,
I was listening to you.
you're killing me. Thank you, Brittany. So I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Public Works Director, Robert Abadia. We've got lots of statistics, lots of surveys done. It's really impressive. And I think we have with us
We have Gabriella with us that did
our
a bunch of the
newest
analysis on
addition
it.
to our public works.
So thank you,
You're
Mayor.
like this every time you finish a sentence.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. You have the staff report in front of you. I have a presentation if you want to go through it or not. In essence, The results of the survey were presented to the Transportation Committee, and you have the recommendations from the Transportation Committee outlined with each of the locations. The greater majority of the humps have been recommended to be removed, and so that would be on Selby, Stockbridge, are the primary ones where there's been a lot of contention. A lot of the local streets like Maple, Monte Vista, Linda Vista, and Fairview were recommended to be retained. There were a couple of locations where there were some modifications recommended, particularly on Glenwood and Watkins, shifting and adding additional humps. So the recommendation with those is that prior to making any changes, to coordinate with the residents in the area as well as the Menlo Park Fire Protection District to make sure that there's kind of a consensus on how and where those humps move. Similarly, there's a recommendation to make some minor modifications on Encinal to kind of make the humps a little longer.
This way or that way? Widthwise or this way? That's gonna be-
Lengthwise, I'll call it lengthwise. So right now, basically with these things, they're pretty much a straight up and down. And so in the presentation, I think slide number 20, there's a little picture there. So the picture on the right is kind of what it looks like today, where it kind of goes straight up and down. The picture on the left would include an additional center section to kind of flatten it out. So it's a little less rough.
I have to use my front end lift on my car when I go down there, and I go, okay, don't forget to lift the front end.
These are similar to like on Bay Road or Orange or going out to the
The
freeway.
ones on
down
Bay
the
Road, I
road.
believe, are permanent, so they're asphalt. There's a lot more flexibility when you do something
Really?
permanent
Yeah.
with asphalt. You can kind of shape it a bit. With these temporary humps, they're pretty much off the shelf type units. You can combine them in different ways, but the heights are kind of fixed, and the ramping sections are fixed. So basically, these are 40 inches, each piece is 40 inches long and then about 20 inches wide. And so you puzzle them together, they're either ramped up or down or to the side. And then they have a few flat pieces. And so the recommendation on making them kind of a little longer is by getting the flat piece, which we didn't do in our initial, and kind of puzzle piecing those in the middle to make it a little of a smoother transition. The height stays the same. And then the police department has some additional recommendations to add reflectors in front of the humps, which
Yeah.
makes
That's a
things a
good
little
idea.
more visible.
Yeah, there's a bunch that are in the shadows, and I come up to them and don't see them until the
And
last
so
second.
in consideration of following the meeting with the Transportation Committee, in addition to that, we're probably gonna look at putting some reflectors on the side of the road as well. Just to kind of, again, kind of
Yeah.
highlight the location.
Vertical building.
The verdict, yeah, so you have a couple of pictures there. You have the in pavement kind of reflectors and then the vertical delineators on the side to, again, kind of help
That will help.
make things stand out a little better at night. And then they also recommended some additional speed humps in front of along Laurel, along Edge Road near Laurel Elementary. Those would likely be kind of, Edge is a lower volume, smaller street, kind of similar to what we have on Berry and Maple, that kind of thing. But again, before doing that, we'd have to reach out to the school, the neighbors, kind of make sure that folks are okay with the placement, because we don't want to put something in front of somebody's house where they're going to be objecting to it.
So you look at like driveway ingress, egress.
We'd have to set up a meeting with the school to make sure that it makes sense in terms of the locations. And then the other recommendation, I know that there's a question from council, but is to have a conversation at the, I'll call it, west end of Selby, near Adelante Selby,
Yeah.
about
You have
kind of shifting things down in that location as well.
Councilmember Whitmer, you have a question for me?
Yeah, so on the, what you're proposing for the speed bumps is keeping the height the same and just putting an extender in it and down? Because
Or-
what was discussed, Mr. Luger actually was the one that brought it up, but it's a good point. So on Bay Road, they have smaller ones that are permanent, similar to the ones going out to the freeway, similar to the ones on Orange Road, where they have 3 or 4 or 3 of them. You can't go and they're spaced out, and they can't go faster than 25 miles an hour, but it keeps you at a constant 25 mile an hour, right? And so that's, I think, what we were recommending at the Transportation Committee, is that we consider those as opposed to keep the height, because the height is what is making, when the pickup trucks, the contractor trucks are going over them, they bang into it. And that's what makes the noise, which irritates people, and it also irritates the drivers too. So we could make them more gentle.
They need to
I'm
go
not sure.
slower.
Yeah,
They need to go slower.
well, yeah, well, that was the point of the whole thing, but
So that would be at the pleasure, as I indicated, the temporary stuff are more off the shelf. If the desire is to make permanent changes, then we have a little more flexibility, but that,
Involves asphalt.
There's
It also-
flexibility to set it up, but inflexibility to take it away.
once it's there, it's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But the other part is that that's something that staff isn't able to do on its own. It would be incorporated into some sort of capital project or
Absolutely.
installation with a paving project or something like that.
Quick question. How many of these have we installed throughout the town?
How many location wise, the
Yeah.
temporary humps?
Yeah, I
Uh,
didn't count them through the grass.
here you go. I think we're close to 20 or so.
Oh, okay. Seems
Uh,
like hundreds. I
13 streets, so.
So.
realize it says 20.
Um, so, like I said, we've installed them in a variety of locations. But as noted, we get the most support when it's actually requested by our residents. This was done as part of our neighborhood traffic management action plan, where we did a whole bunch of outreach to the entire town and kind of whittled down to key locations. But like Maple came in and said, please. That's fantastic. That helps.
And it's a short street.
It's a short street, really local. And so it's a lot more challenging when you're talking about the collectors and arterials. And so, and those are the streets that you get. There's more traffic, heavier vehicles. And so like the light humps that work on the residential street can't take the beating that you get on those streets. So.
Okay. There's a lot of variations on the theme of what to do, how to do it, where to do it, right? Some people don't, want speed humps at all, and then some people love it. And then you are also making recommendations to, add more striping and this and that.
Yeah, so I think just to simplify things, if you want, we can, if you're okay blanketly accepting you can either blanketly accept the committee's recommendations as they are. You can accept the removals and discuss one by one the other ones where there's modifications recommended. It's at your pleasure how you want to go through that.
Well, I just want to be really clear that you need to remove everything on Sullivan.
That's consistent with the recommendation from the committee.
Except the ones at Adelante, of course, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because the
Right.
chief suggested that we
Of course.
do them right by the school.
Yes, no, that's a given, okay,
Okay.
but, because I think they spoke out very loudly and clearly.
Well, even the survey says that.
The survey.
Survey says.
Um,
Well, I read
Okay, so again, it's at your pleasure if you're okay with the recommendations as brought forward by the committee.
And the Laurel looked good. I was thinking about you and the walk out of the Laurel School.
I mean, it's, yeah, I think the new one, are you talking about? That he was
Laurel.
mentioned, no, the one on Edge?
So Edge is new, that
Laurel,
that
Ensenal.
came out.
The Ensenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do we have to make a motion?
Yes.
We have to public comment.
Oh, public comments? Anyone?
Yes.
Thank you, I kind of lost it that.
No one online.
No one online, thanks, Michael. You wanna make a motion?
Make a motion to move forward with all the recommendations as outlined in the staff report.
Second.
Very quick. Any questions, any public comments?
Yeah, before
Manager.
you move on, Robert, is there anything in particular in there you want other specific direction on besides the recommendations that you need some clarity on?
Well, I think that we, like I say, verbally gotten direction with regards to the delineation devices. And like I said before, we are making, removal is something that we can schedule fairly easily. But before we make any adjustments in locations or modifications to the humps, we're gonna outreach. And so that's something that we're gonna be starting to set up in the beginning of the year, because now is not the right time to try and get a hold of folks. And so just in terms of timing, don't expect the changes overnight. Likelihood is that we're gonna start the removals in the beginning of the year, weather permitting, and then send out letters and stuff to folks to see when, look at calendars and try and set things up to include folks for,
So you're not gonna remove anything until next year?
That's 3 weeks.
like I say, resources right now, between now and the end of the year are kind of constrained. And so,
I think it'd be a positive thing, you would start taking at least one speed bump off of Sylvan. ASAP, based on the emails and their attendance at all the meetings and all that, it shows good faith that we're hearing them, and maybe things could calm down a little bit.
And stop, oh yeah, selling.
stuff, like I say, I mean, we've gotten, like I say, there, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure you can kind of work
We're
it out.
down.
Or at the minimum, tell them the
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
send them a little letter.
That there will be action.
It's probably easier to
Merry
remove than
Christmas.
send a letter.
Yeah.
So-
You're right.
Okay, so, all right,
So I'm gonna
so,
bring it back, we gotta vote on this, okay, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes, thank you. Okay, well, are there any other parting remarks anybody wants to make?
Did they move the meat back into this room after we leave? Because this is like a storage, meat storage.
He thinks it's a meat locker.
Freezing
All
there.
right, so,
Thanks,
meeting
Mom.
adjourned.
Have